when the setting sun stingily hides its last scattered light in the world. The whole world fell straight into darkness. In a dark alley, a group of gangsters with colorfully dyed hair surrounded a young man with smiles. Half of the boy's body was hidden in the shadows, wearing a peaked cap covering most of his face. He was lazily crossing his arms, and the fingers on his arms were long and white, with clear joints. The wide cuffs of his school uniform slid down, revealing his extraordinarily slender wrists. The curled index finger was tapping carelessly, not paying attention to the people in front of him at all. The leading gangster is a red-haired guy. He looked around first, but didn't find the person he was looking for, then turned his head and looked up and down at the young man in front of him. Hong Mao raised his chin high. "Boy, why are you alone today? And where is the girl following you?" He had been eyeing that girl for a long time, but unfortunately, he never got her. Several times, good things have been ruined by this kid in front of me. Today, he brought many brothers, not only to get the girl, but also to deal with the boy who repeatedly ruined his good deeds. The young man didn't say anything and didn't even bother to raise his eyelids. Only Night Breeze sneaked past him and accidentally tugged at the corner of his clothes. Obviously, Hong Mao is not a patient person, and he was humiliated by the young man in front of his brother. He was immediately angry and annoyed. "Are you fucking deaf? Dad is asking you a question. Can't you hear?" As Hong Mao said, he started to pull the boy's collar, but before he touched it, his eyes suddenly blurred. What comes back to me is the piercing pain in my nasal cavity. The soreness spread from the bridge of his nose to the surrounding areas, and he suddenly screamed. He quickly reached out to cover his hand, and the greasy and sticky liquid immediately covered his hand. Hong Mao grimaced in pain and arched his waist slightly. He took a few steps back, looked at the young man with a fierce look in his eyes, and said to the brothers beside him, "Come on, I will be the one to be beaten to death." But before these people could move, the boy holding his wrist in front of him had already raised his head. Only then did everyone see the beautiful face hidden under the peaked cap, and were stunned. Hong Mao's eyes widened in shock, as if he had seen a ghost. He ignored the soreness in his nose and pointed a trembling, bloody hand at him. You. He didn't say a word to you for a long time. Shi Hanyan got impatient, frowned, and plucked his ears. You just asked them to beat me to death, right?" Her voice was not that of a young man, but rather that of a girl's sweetness, but her tone was very calm and indifferent. Without waiting for them to react, he kicked directly and knocked the person over. Then there were screams one after another in the dark alley, and the muffled sound of fists pounding flesh. This is the innermost corner of the alley, and no one would go in there. People passing by heard the faint screams, and they speeded up their steps in panic. After a while, the dark alley was full of people lying on the ground. Red Hair lay on the ground with blood on his face, like a dead dog. He could only groan and gasp. Shi Hanyan, who was wearing a large school uniform, retracted his hand and shook his right hand in disgust. He took out a white handkerchief to wipe his hands before giving them a look. Her legs moved slightly, causing the red hair to crawl back in shock. You don't come here?" Shi Hanyan sneered. "Coward." Lalengsi looked away, carefully wiped each finger clean, and then put the handkerchief back into his school uniform pocket. New book released. Chapter 2. She is also very good today, too. Shi Hanyan glanced at the results in front of him and felt quite satisfied. "Oh, why are you so impulsive? What can you sit down and talk about? You want to take action, but my hands are red." The girl rolled up her sleeves, revealing a fair and delicate arm. The white palms were half-clasped, and the joints were glowing red. Listen, is this human language? Red Hair, and the others just wanted to roll their eyes. You fucking King Kong, Barbie, is a unilateral abuser, and you can do it more cruelly than anyone else. Now that she had finished beating them, she felt physically and mentally refreshed, so she pretended to be weak to them. She also blamed them for being thick-skinned, which made her hands turn red. But they didn't have the courage after all, so they could only shrink their necks and try to reduce their presence as much as possible. Seeing a group of shivering gangsters huddled together, Shi Hanyan felt bored. It's so weak that it's not very enjoyable to beat. She glanced at Hong Mao, who was trying to blend in, walked over in a few steps, and dragged him out. Hong Mao was so frightened that he thought he was going to be beaten again. He struggled with all his limbs and screamed, "Brother, no. Dad, please spare me. I know I was wrong. Don't hit me. I won't dare to do it again, whoa." Shi Hanyan kicked him and said, "Shut up. Your ears hurt from the noise." Hong Mao immediately stopped talking. Shi Hanyan threw the person in front of him, leaned lazily against the corner wall, and asked him, "Who asked you to come?" Hong Mao was shocked. How did she know that she was sent here by someone else? "No one asked me." Hong Mao wanted to deny it, but under Shi Hanyan's cold gaze, his voice trailed off, and he did not dare to continue. He felt that if he didn't tell the truth, then he wouldn't want this tooth anymore. The pain that spread throughout his body forced him to confess everything honestly and obediently. "It was Mr. Lu's people who asked me to teach Lu Qingren a lesson and give me 100,000 when the matter is completed." Shi Hanyan narrowed his eyes. "Only 100,000? Hong Mao nodded quickly. 100,000. "So few?" The red-haired head nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. "I also feel that 100,000 is too little, and a young man from a wealthy family can be so stingy." Shi Hanyan clicked his tongue and stretched out a thin, white and beautiful hand. Looking at the palms stretched out in front of him, Hong Mao swallowed, thinking that he was going to be beaten again, and quickly raised his hands to protect his head. "Dad, I said everything. Don't hit me. If you want to hit me, don't hit me in the face." Shi Hanyan kicked him impatiently. "Who wants to hit you?" Hong Mao cautiously exposed one eye and saw that Shi Hanyan really had no intention of hitting him, then hesitantly put down his hand. Seeing Shi Hanyan spreading his hands, he was a little confused. "Dad, what are you?" 100,000. Shi Hanyan said lazily, raising his other hand to press down his peaked cap. Hong Mao almost twitched when he heard this. "Dad, where did I get 100,000? You didn't even get it if you sold me." Shi Hanyan looked at him with a half smile, but not a smile. "Why not?" Hong Mao said with a mournful face, "If I had 100,000, I would have gone home long ago." "Who the hell wants to be beaten?" Shi Hanyan raised his eyebrows. "Didn't that guy Lu Haoren say he would give you 100,000? Speaking of this, Hong Mao really cried. He wiped away bitter tears. "Isn't this impossible?" Not only did it fail, but it also got involved. The beating was in vain. Hong Mao moved his arm and pulled the injured rib, and he suddenly took a breath of cold air. Hiss, it fucking hurts. How did he have the courage to fall in love with Shi Hanyan before? Chapter 3. She is also very good today, 3. As soon as Shi Hanyan arrived at the door of his house, he was blocked by Lu Qingren. "Where have you been? Why are you back so late?" Lu Qingren was half leaning against the door. Against the light, Qingjuan's gentle face looked even more profound. The girl's face was a little pale, her eyes staring at the ground and her toes. Shi Hanyan's voice was extremely soft. "Today we have makeup classes at school, so school ends a little later than before." Lu Qingren asked, "Is your class the only one to fill in?" Shi Hanyan pursed her lips. "No, the whole grade is making up lessons." Lu Qingren nodded and didn't ask any more questions. "Call me next time to make up for your class, and I'll pick you up." As he said this, he stepped aside to let her pass by her. Suddenly, he smelled a faint smell of blood lingering in the girl's sweet fragrance. Lu Qingren stopped and frowned. "Injured? Did someone bully you?" Shi Hanyan's lowered eyelashes trembled slightly, and a gentle smile appeared on his pale lips. "No. Who dares to bully me?" Shi Hanyan told the truth. But Lu Qingren obviously didn't believe it when she looked like this. In his understanding, Shi Hanyan has always been very weak, like a grass swaying in the wind and rain, which may be broken by the wind at any time. Having some concerns in her mind, Lu Qingren also spoke and went directly to hold her hand. Shi Hanyan shrank his shoulders subconsciously and quickly hid his hands behind his back so that he wouldn't see them. But girls are not as strong as boys. Under the pale light, the girl's delicate wrist was firmly clamped by Lu Qingren, and she was forced to stretch it out in front of him. Her originally white and tender palms were covered with scars, and her slender fingers were abnormally red and swollen. There were even bleeding and scabs in some places, and the wounds were covered with dark red blood beads that had already condensed. Lu Qingren's eyes darkened, and he, who is always gentle, grimaced. After all this, you still say you haven't been bullied. Shi Hanyan, are you a pig? I don't know if you are bullied or not. Shi Hanyan has never seen Lu Qingren so fierce. Suddenly being yelled at by him, her body trembled, she blinked, and her tears of grievance were no longer under control and rushed out of her eyes. I'm not a pig. The girl cried sadly. Her tone was soft and full of grievances. Her eyes were red. Her long, slender black eyelashes trembled violently, with a crystal teardrop hanging on them, but they couldn't cover up the sadness in her eyes. Lu Qingren looked at it and sighed in her heart. This is really unspeakable and unspeakable. Forget it, he really owed her a debt, and he was her brother. You are not a pig, I am. He softened his tone. Don't cry. I didn't scold you, but you just don't want to hide everything from me. I'm your brother. If anyone bullies you, tell me. The young man's gentle and caring eyebrows were quite cold at the moment. Who is it? Lu Qingren was really gentle, but it was a pity that he was not interested in her. Shi Hanyan thought about it and sighed regretfully in his heart. I don't know him, but his hair is red. For teammates, sell when it's time to sell. Lu Qingren thought for a moment, and gradually the red hair and his face met in her mind, and she felt confident in her heart. He asked Shi Hanyan to sit on the sofa and went to find the medical kit. Looking at the small wounds on his hands, he didn't know what they were. Lu Qingren's voice was soft and slow. Does it hurt? His brows were still furrowed, and the movements of his hands were as gentle as his tone. Shi Hanyan shook his head and showed a cute smile. It doesn't hurt. If it weren't for the fact that her white lips were trembling slightly, and the hand he was holding gently was also trembling, Lu Qing would have almost believed it. Chapter 4. She is also very good today for. It's time to talk back. I really want to twist her hard and let her know the consequences of lying. But looking at the red eyes, Lu Qingren didn't feel cruel after all. Little liar, he said. Shi Hanyan pursed her lips and curled up obediently, her round eyes opened confusedly and timidly, full of uneasiness. Hearing Lu Qingren's words, Shi Hanyan was noncommittal. What is the difference between her current behavior and that of a liar? But she was still a little angry when she thought that this game made her an emotional liar. In this copy, Shi Hanyan is an orphan who grew up in an orphanage. She was adopted by a couple 5 years ago. Lu Qingren was the son of her adoptive father and mother and became her nominal brother. I thought that a happy life would begin from now on, but unfortunately, it didn't last long. 2 years ago, my adoptive parents died in a car accident. Lu Qingren and her were the only ones left at home. They relied on their adoptive parents' savings and compensation, so their life was not difficult. Until a year ago, a man came to the door and said that he was Lu Qingren's biological father, and even asked Lu Qingren to take a paternity test. Since then, Lu Qingren has been in constant trouble. Even her younger sister was harassed from time to time. When Lu Qingren was around, she maintained her little white flower persona, being well-behaved and smart enough to be bullied by anyone. Once out of his sight, Shi Hanyan returned to his lazy, flamboyant, and somewhat surly temperament. People who have been beaten by her can be lined up from the school gate to the back door. But Lu Qingran didn't know that Shi Hanyan hid these things very well. After applying the medicine, Lu Qingran asked her to go back to her room to do her homework while he went to cook. There are no adults at home, so these things naturally fall on him. As for Shi Hanyan, Lu Qingran was afraid of going to the ICU after eating the food she cooked. Shi Hanyan closed the door, unscrewed the school uniform jacket from her school bag, and shook it open. She looked carefully from the inside out and breathed a sigh of relief when she found that it was not dirty. She took the peaked cap and school uniform in her hands and quietly put them back in Lu Qingran's room before she sat down at the desk. She reached out and swiped her hand in front of her face, and a transparent screen glowing with white light stood in front of her. Target person, Lu Qingran, gender, male, age, 17. Strategy progress, 42.6%. Impression of you in front of the target person, weak sister. Target mission, become an unforgettable gentle white rose in the heart of the target person. She has been in the game for 3 months, and her initial progress is 20%. In other words, in the past 3 months, she has only conquered 22.6%. Shi Hanyan gritted his teeth as he looked at the progress bar, wishing he could finish the game on the same spot in minutes, but there was no way to quit the game midway once it started. To be honest, she is really not very good at strategy games. She still likes action games where she can do whatever she wants and where she can fight heartily, rather than being an artificial daughter in front of a man. But the game has been purchased and the levels have been advanced. It is not Shi Hanyan's style to just give up and quit. Lu Qingran's cheap brother has been unable to contain himself recently and has been making various moves. I think she will have many opportunities to attack him. Shi Hanyan's cell phone rang. She turned off the light curtain, took out her cell phone, and saw that it was Hong Mao's transfer. He transferred the 100,000 yuan tonight to her account. It seems that Lu Haoran was coaxed by Hong Mao. As expected, all the Lu family except Lu Qingran are idiots. Oh no, Lu Qingran was stupid too, but she kept him within her own territory and considered him one of her own. Even if he is stupid, he is still adorable. Chapter 5. She is also very good today, 5. Seeing the newly arrived 100,000 yuan in his wallet, the corners of Shi Hanyan's mouth raised in good mood, and the ends of his gentle eyes raised slightly. The bad mood due to the slow progress gradually became more comfortable. Xiaoyao should be me. Dad, Mr. Lu said that he would come and see for himself in a few days. What should I do? Shi Hanyan glanced at it, holding the phone in one hand and typing. Xiaoxi, of course I'm teaching him how to behave. Do you still need me to teach you step by step? Hong Mao was immediately frightened when he saw this news. That's not a step-by-step instruction. It's a step-by-step guide. He still has a very strong desire to survive. Xiaoyao should be me. Then where can I trouble you? Dad, this matter is taken care of by me. I know what to do. Shi Hanyan didn't say anything more. She suddenly thought of the blame tonight and picked up her phone again. The uninjured hand supported the chin, and the slender fingertips picked up the tip of the chin with a lazy expression. Xiaoxi, by the way, I told Lu Qingran that you blocked me. Xiaoyao should be me, Hong Mao was heartbroken. He had led people to block the situation, but they were the ones who got beaten. They were hiding and not daring to say a word, so why did they turn around to laugh at Hanyan and complain? Xiaoxi, if Lu Qingran comes to you, pick me out, do you understand? Shi Hanyan thought for a moment and decided that his personality couldn't collapse just yet. Not for anything else, but because he was afraid of scaring Lu Qingran away. After living with the frail little white flower for 5 years, she suddenly discovered that she was a domineering, man-eating flower. No one would be able to accept this. What is this? Shi Hanyan threw away the phone, suddenly afraid to think about it. Lu Qingran will definitely shed tears when she discovers the truth in the future. As for the strategy, just let it happen. Lu Qingran and Shi Hanyan both had good grades, but they were not in the same school. Lu Qingran School is in the east of the city, and Shi Hanyan School is in the north of the city. Because they are not close to the schools, they both got up very early. When they met in the living room, Lu Qingran saw that Shi Hanyan looked bad, so she consciously went into the kitchen and heated up a glass of milk for her. Shi Hanyan drank milk, yawning and wiping tears. I thought it was really hard to be a high school student. Not only did I have to study, but I also didn't get enough sleep. It was really miserable. She had to choose her identity carefully for the next dungeon, but she couldn't choose the identity of a high school student who worked from dawn to dusk. After breakfast, the two of them went back to their rooms to change clothes. Lu Qingran took out another set of school uniforms to change into. He took off his pajamas and put on a short-sleeved shirt. When he was about to put on his coat, he suddenly stopped. He held a corner of the collar of his coat and brought it to the tip of his nose. Almost as soon as he got closer, a very light fragrance poured directly into his nostrils. The vague and non-existent smell just now gradually became stronger, proving that this was not his illusion. The scent was very familiar. He had just smelled it last night. Lu Qingran pursed her lips and stared at the coat, not knowing what she was thinking, but her deep eyes were a little darker. In the end, he did not wear the coat, but carefully folded it and put it back in the closet, putting on the one he had changed out of yesterday and had not had time to wash. Fortunately, he loves to be clean, so the clothes don't have any strange smell, only the fragrance of laundry detergent. The lemon smell is not the rose fragrance that is so light that it is difficult to distinguish, but is extremely strong. When he opened the door, Shi Hanyan was already standing at the door waiting for him. She looked gloomy and sleepy at the moment, but she could not hide her well-behaved look. Lu Qingran looked at her and said calmly, "Let's go, we'll be late for school." Chapter 6. She is also very good today, 6. Shi Hanyan nodded, yawned sleepily because he was not full of sleep, and followed Lu Qingran obediently and quietly. The house left by my adoptive parents was in a good location, close to the city center and with convenient transportation links. It's just an old-fashioned residential building with no elevator. Fortunately, the floor they live on is not high. The two of them walked quietly, and there was only the sound of their footsteps in the entire stairwell. The first ray of sunlight in the morning slowly came down from the stairs, pouring a delicate and warm yellow halo, making the shadows somewhat dazzling. Not knowing whether she was dizzy due to the sunshine, Lu Qingran suddenly turned around. "Do you want to transfer to our school?" Shi Hanyan was wandering in the sky when Lu Qingran suddenly opened her mouth and dropped an explosive message. There was still a bit of confusion on her face. What? Why did Lu Qingran suddenly ask her to transfer to another school? Could it be that he read her thoughts and wanted to take the opportunity to test her? As soon as this thought came up, Shi Hanyan suppressed it. A person like Lu Qingran is gentler than anyone else, but cooler than anyone else. If he really knew that she had other thoughts about him, even if there was even a hint, he would have kicked her out and left her to die. Why would he bother to test her out? Lu Qingran stopped, turned around and looked at her seriously. "Transfer to our school. Just in time I can protect you, and the situation like yesterday will never happen again." His eyes fell on Shi Hanyan's left hand, which had been in his pocket, and the corners of his mouth tightened unconsciously. He vaguely knew what happened yesterday, and who sent Hong Mao. He could guess it without thinking deeply. After all, besides his brother from the Lu family, who else could want to deal with him despite not wishing him well? He felt guilty for his sister Shi Hanyan. Because of the trouble he caused, she was bullied, and Lu Qingran couldn't help but feel bad about it. The morning sun was very gentle, gently covering half of the boy's cheeks like the wind. His long eyelashes and black hair seemed to be coated with gold powder, making his light brown eyes look like glass. There seemed to be wind in the distance, blowing down from the large open staircase. The familiar scent of roses came to him, refreshing his mind. The girl looked at him blankly, her bright face so delicate and beautiful, like a fresh and open little rose exposed in the morning sun. Lu Qingren thought again of the school uniform with light fragrance in the morning. A young girl is at the age where she loves beauty. In addition to wanting to steal adults' clothes and pretend to be mature, it can only show her desire for number 1 middle school. In Lu Qingren's eyes, Shi Hanyan has always been well-behaved and quiet, with a soft temper, but he is much more mature than his peers because of his life experience. Therefore, Lu Qingren didn't think that she secretly wore his school uniform to pretend to be mature, so there was only one conclusion. Shi Hanyan likes your number 1 middle school, so she secretly wore his school uniform behind his back. She studied in the number 3 middle school in the city. Although it was also a key high school, it was not as strong as the teachers in the number 1 middle school in the city. Shi Hanyan has always liked studying, and he definitely prefers number 1 middle school in his heart.